Trying to figure out the best move and what to do with Hotel Utica. Now in our news, as Samantha had earlier, Visions Hotel maybe throwing their hat in the ring for the possibility of, trying to rehab the hotel and get it back to fruition. The idea here is the back taxes and what needs to be done there and the payments that need to be made. Your take, Mr. Morehouse, on what could be done?
Well, I know Mayor Palmieri has done a great job on trying to find a buyer for this hotel because we sure don't want it to go dark. It's an important, integral part of the city of Utica. And, we've run out of options. Mr. Patel did come in at the last minute. I was very forceful to tell him, I am foreclosing. This is the end of the road. I withdrew it last year. I'm not going to do it again. We're in a position here in the comptroller's office where we take people's houses, and there's certain rules that you have to apply to not have your property taken, and they're the same as everybody else. So we are going to take it if this doesn't happen, but Mr. Patel did step up at the last moment, and the deal we have on the table, if the certiorari goes through and that's the reassessment, my office would get $879,539. And with the reassessment, the back taxes owed would be $724,308. Those are the back taxes. The penalties are $337,000. We wouldn't have to waive all of those if the council instructs me to. We would just waive the portion to get us to that 879 number. So we'd be waiving. I'd be getting another $155,000 in penalties and interest, and we'd be waiving roughly $182,000 in penalties and interest to make this deal happen. And myself personally, my hands are tied. If I could have done this myself and waived the penalties and interest as the comptroller, I would have done it. I think it's the best thing for the city of Utica under the circumstances. There's no good thing here. This has been a nightmare from the start. But under the circumstances, we have the right buyer. If we were to take deed of the property, we probably wouldn't because they would file bankruptcy. Then we have a Doyle hardware building. Mm-hmm. So you have a nightmare under that scenario too. But even if they didn't, the rare chance that they didn't file bankruptcy and we took the deed, the owner we'd be looking for is Mr. Patel. He's the right guy. So we have a chance to do business with him. I know the Bank of Utica is very interested in doing business with him. And the city is, and you can see from the properties that he owns, what kind of businessman he is, and he's really as good as they come as far as upstanding businessman. Knows the hotel business, knows what he's doing. So, from my standpoint, I think it's the right thing, but it's really in the council's hands. I cannot waive the penalties and interest. State law doesn't allow me to, but under statute, I believe it's 1182. The council can instruct the comptroller to pass a state resolution that would instruct me that I can waive penalties and interest based on for the betterment of the community. And there's various things, jobs kept, the hotel kept, there's a whole list, and they'll go through that list, I'm sure.
We spoke with Councilman Bill Phillips earlier on the show today, and I had read from a text that Jim Zecca had sent us with his concerns about footing the bill for this particular venture. The council must okay the resolution, he says, and I'm quoting from his text right now. He's asking questions. Why would the city be required to continue to pay the Section 108 loan after the sale? And would the city still be responsible for paying off the Section 108 loan? The new owner should be footing the bill, not the taxpayers, he is positing in his text message here.
Yeah, in a perfect world, that'd be great if a new owner, if somebody came through with an offer to purchase the place and pay that loan, which has never been paid by anybody but the city of Utica since Mr. Hanna approved it back in 2002, I believe it was. That would be great, but that's not the deal that's on the table. This is the deal that's on the table. From my standpoint, my office gets $879,000. I'm comfortable with that, and I'm comfortable with it because of who the new owner will be, Mr. Patel and Visions Hotel, and I'm very excited for them to do business in the city of Utica. Otherwise, I am going to go through with the foreclosure, and they will then file bankruptcy, and we'll have a Doyle hardware building on our hands, and we'll go through that whole process. So under the circumstances, nobody's jumping up and down and saying, wow, what a deal. But under the circumstances, this is a good deal.
I'm talking to City Comptroller Bill Morehouse and Vikings fan here on the Talk of the Town show.
So at the end of the day, Mr. Morehouse, excuse me, We will have the new owner, which potentially could be Mr. Patel of Vision Hotels, paying back those back taxes that were left from Mr. Gaetano. We would then have someone taking ownership of that building, getting it out of the city's hands in some form or fashion, but still having to go through with that urban development loan and pay that off through the remainder.
The city's paid that loan from the start. Nobody's ever made a payment on that loan but the city.
Right.
You know, it'd be like you buy a car for your son or daughter and you co-sign the loan. Well, guess what? If the loan is defaulted on, they're not going after your son or daughter. Mm-hmm. And this is a situation where nobody ever paid the loan. The former owners did not make any payments on the loan. The city was obligated, and we've been paying it out of CDBG funds. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. We can't go back.
Right, from a past administration.
And make no mistake, if I foreclose and we take deed, we still are paying that loan through 2020. So that really didn't become part of this. Yeah, if you had a deal where somebody said, well, I'll pay the loan also, then that'd be great. That's not the deal on the table. This is the deal. I'm not withdrawing the petition again. I am going to foreclose on this building. But under these circumstances, I think it's the right thing to do for the people. And like I say, if I had the power to take the $724,000 in back taxes and take 50% basically of the penalties and interest, I would do it because people elected me to make decisions, and I think that's the right decision where we stand for the city of Utica.
Does it seem to you that Mr. Patel and the Vision Hotels group is 100% committed to this?
Yeah, he doesn't. Mr. Patel doesn't do anything that's not 100% committed to. If you look at his hotels and his occupancy rate and how he conducts himself, mm-hmm. It's like I say, this is the person you want to do business with. I know the local banks here; they want to do business with him. There's no question. He's speculating that there's going to be a hospital downtown. Let's be quite frank about it. And if there is, we're going to have a wonderful hotel there. And if there's not, he's going to have to scramble and figure out what he's going to do with that hotel, how he's going to repurpose it, or what he's going to do with it. But, I think there's a lot of people that are encouraged that the hospital is going to go downtown. And if it does, I think that the Hotel Utica will be a shining star once again.
And the Visions Hotels folks that you're mentioning there have done a great job with some of the newer edifices here in North Utica, the Hampton Inn, the Holiday Inn Express, and the Fairfield Inn. Do they have as much experience with renovating a property like the Hotel Utica?
Yeah, he has. I don't know the specifics of his what he's done with renovations, but he's looked at this. He came in initially and looked at it a year and a half ago, and he's come back in here at the end to really, nobody would believe that he's doing this because of his love of the city and his wanting to be part of the city, but he truly is. And I don't know the ins and outs of what he's done renovation-wise, but he knows what he's getting into. Mm-hmm. He knows what he's getting into, and he's willing to take the risk. He's banking on the city of Utica and where we're headed, and he wants to be part of it.
Great, and I think, as you mentioned earlier, the mayor doing his diligence of trying to find the proper buyer and maybe not bringing in someone from the private sector, I guess, if you will. We spoke with the gentleman out in Syracuse who was doing his part in rehabbing the Hotel Syracuse, and what he had to do was bring in outside investors in to help invest. So that was my idea behind asking about the commitment from Vision Hotels, and also the idea that if they weren't 100% committed, that your time frame for foreclosing would be soon.
The foreclosure is in the process right now. It is being pushed back slightly, but now it's not just the hotels being pushed back. All the foreclosures. So the other 52 properties are also being pushed back maybe a week. So instead of January 15th, we might be looking at January 22nd or so. Okay. But that's going to actually save some people's homes, because a lot of people come to us at the last minute trying to save their homes and say, can you give me another week? And in this case, they're going to get a little extra time, maybe a week, possibly 2 weeks, maybe to February 1st. And then that whole foreclosure batch will go through. So I'm not doing anything for the hotel specifically as far as foreclosures. We are moving all the foreclosures back just a bit. And there's a lot of people that are very happy with me because they're trying to save their homes.
Well, I think it's pretty instrumental in the fact that we're able to find a buyer here. We all know what happened and what the hotel looked like and the disarray it was in before the Gaetano Group stepped up. As you mentioned, this maybe it didn't go to fruition as we would hope, but it did keep the hotel afloat. Where do you think the hotel would be at this point if we didn't have them step up at the time they did? We know there was 5 or 6 feet of water, I believe, in the basement at the time.
Yeah, I know. I was just talking with Mike Sexton from Sexton Painting the other day, and he came in and actually did the inner part of the hotel, the lobby area and whatnot, and power washed it. And he was saying when he walked in there, to think that it could turn it into even what it is now was amazing, because that building was a wreck. It was a disaster. And, so there is some good. It's still standing. It's still a viable structure. And, this may be the turning point. There's several floors up top that aren't being utilized right now that can be utilized. And, I'm a proponent. I know there's people both ways on the hospital going downtown, but I've seen Buffalo. I've seen areas what a hospital in a downtown area can do for that area. And the way we're headed, 4,000 jobs downtown. We're taking a blighted area. We're taking $60,000 in tax revenue that's on the books now, which is just that's nothing, compared to our overall tax base. And we're turning it into something very good for the area, I believe. And that's my opinion. There's greater powers than me that'll make that decision. But if I had a vote, I would say I would like to see the hospital down.
Sure, and maybe we can get in that conversation when we have more time in another segment. And I know the other side of that, some folks are saying, the percentage of tax-exempt properties in the city is great as it is now, maybe not looking at taking some more of those properties off the tax rolls.
Yeah, it opens up a whole other discussion.
Sure.
I know they're doing it in Florida, some places where they're charging fees to these nonprofits, and I don't want to get all the nonprofits upset, but that opens up another whole discussion too. Do they need to pay something for the services we supply?